All right, so here's the end product that we're going to build today. So we're going to be using a top bar navigation view, and so we'll have crew, flights, and you can see the 2 pages we're going to be working with. So first off, if I click on crew, you can see I already pre-populated it with some characters from Star Trek already. And for example, like if I take one of these guys, I can just add some random characters to their name and rank and home planet, and I just hit the edit button. So we have the command bar that we're going to be using as well, and we'll be using a message dialog object as well to have these pop-up dialogues come up. Look at the drop down, it's right there. If I switch to somebody else, different data, switch back, the edited data is there as well. If I want to delete him, I can hit the delete button. Right, he'll be deleted. Switch to different person, you can see that he's not there anymore. If I want to add somebody new, and then just throw some random data in, and I hit add. So this person's been added. I can see them in my my ComboBox, right? Same with flights. So from Montreal to Tokyo, for example. And the same add, edit, delete functionality works as well. We're using a DatePicker object, so you can choose a different date that you want to depart from. This will be hard-coded for a ComboBox as well, so we'll see how to do that. But yeah, so that's essentially, and you can see the back button still works as well. So essentially this is the end product. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to recreate a navigation view first of all with 2 dummy pages, and then we're going to switch it over to a top bar. So what I want you guys to do is kill this. So basically set up your project similar to last week with a navigation view, and I have 2 pages. One's called crew view and one's called flights view. So set up their tags as well, right, for each page. Right, and you're going to have it set up with your navigation view. We'll start with the side, the left nav, and then we'll switch it over to top bar afterwards once you're all set. And just to run it, this is what you should be at. Right, so just 2 pages. You can choose any icon you want, and back button should work. And so this is as far as you want to get set up before we continue on for now. All right, so yeah, so under navigation view, right, under properties, if you search for pane display mode, you can switch auto to top, and you'll see in your preview there, you've got your nav bar from the left to the top. And if you run it, you can verify this functionality.
The icons working? Oh,
yeah, the icons work. Right, back button still works. Your settings button, I'm not going to click on it, but if you had a settings page, that would work as well. It's just exact same stuff. It just moved to a different location. So that's the nice thing about that. And so clicking on these options here, we're going to also add the command bar, which will go right around where my mouse is placed. So I'm going to close this. And of course, it's going to crash on me. All right, so let's add the commands, but we're going to add them to each of the individual pages. So I'm going to start with the crew view page. I'm going to open that up. All right, I'm going to just put the code at top so it's easier to work with, because we'll be working purely with code. So within our grid, I'm going to actually, I'll leave the text block in for now. I'm going to remove it eventually because it just gets in the way. But when you want to add those commands, you just open up a command bar, right, and close it. So I have opening and closing command bar. And the options that go inside command bar, we can look in preview, it's added a bar at the top. with nothing in it. So every button you want to add is a app bar button tag. So app bar button, and let's give it a name. So x name equals, and I'm gonna say btn crew add. Icon is add. So the nice thing is that there's an add, edit, and delete icon that we learned about from all the set of icons we learned about last class. And then label is add as well. So if it wants to put text. And so you're going to see a neat feature with this afterwards when we run this. And just a slash to close up the tag. All right. And you should see add right here in the preview. And there's a plus sign right there. I'm just going to click away from it so you can actually see both. The word add was there a minute ago. And it's actually, we'll see how we can get it to view as well. So let's add two more. So we're going to add another app bar button. Let's say X name is btn crew edit. Icon equals edit. Yeah, edit is the one we want to use. And label is edit. All right, we'll do one for delete. And X name is btn crew delete. Icon equals delete. Label equals delete. Okay. And you have enough to run, and you should see those buttons in action.
Is there a way to put it on the left side of it
instead of one above the other? I'll bet there is. I just haven't looked it up yet.
No, like I meant like on the bar, like how it's on the right.
Oh, the buttons on the right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way because I believe this is standard. I believe this is a standard way to do things, and so Microsoft forces it. Also, hitting the ... expands it, yeah, and shows you the words as well. Right, and so of course the buttons aren't functional yet. We're gonna make it functional, just as a head, like for foreshadowing purposes. It's the same way with adding an event handler to a button. You find the click event handler and double click it, and it generates the click event handler, and that's how you have buttons that have an event handler there. So we'll do the same thing with the flights page. I'm just gonna reverse that. So we'll do another command bar. Right, and then app bar button. X name will be btn flight add, and then icon is add. Label is add. App bar button, X name, btn flight edit. Icon edit. Label edit. You'll find app bar button, X name, btn flight delete. Icon delete. Label delete. And yeah, you should have the same functionality for the flights page as well. Since we have all of our buttons in play. So now we click on flights, and we see our same buttons. They expand and contract. Right. So now we're ready to work on this. We're going to focus on crew, and we're going to create a model object for it so that we can work with. So I'm just going to right click and add a new class. So add new item. Class. Well, it doesn't have to be in view. It can be anywhere in the project. So really, I would create a separate folder realistically and put it all in there, but I'm just skipping ahead and just adding a new class. Going to call it crew. So just an empty class right there, internal class crew. We'll do one more for flight. So I'm going to add new item, also a class. Let's call it flight. And hit add. All right, so we have two classes, crew and flight. I'm going to focus on crew for now. Right. So the fields we're going to put inside crew, I think I'll make the font bigger. There. So we'll say private int underscore ID, private int underscore name, private int underscore rank, private int underscore starship, and private int underscore home planet. Sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. Strings for the rest. Yes, sorry. Whoops. See, it's not good to have your own mind on autopilot. There. Thank you for noticing. All right, let's do a constructor. So say public crew, and it's not gonna give any suggestion. That's too bad. So int I, string n, string r, string s, and string h, and then just save the stuff. So it's going to complain. I'm going to say ID without the underscore equals I. I'm just running a little experiment here to see if it'll suggest generating the getter and setter for me. And now, and generate now. I was really hoping it would have done that. So before we get into completing crew, let's create the getters and setters. So public, well, half of it is there.
Oh, never mind.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, you have me worried there. Get return underscore ID, set underscore ID equals value. There, that should get rid of that error.
Why is underscore ID?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
think, oh no,
sure
it is
it's
outside of the class. I'm
outside.
pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I said.
It is outside of the class.
The constructor is also
You're
outside
right.
the class.
You're
That's what
right.
I'm saying.
So my online section that's watching this are watching me fail miserably. Usually they get the perfect video, and they're hearing this right now. So they get the perfectly edited video, and I'm just screen capturing raw right now.
Oh, your screen. I thought you were doing it live right now.
No, I'm just screen capturing it.
Oh, you edit your video?
I usually do. I usually hit
Wow.
pause a lot of times, and yeah, they're hearing this right now
Oh,
when they
That's pretty
because
cool.
I'm not gonna
They
edit
should.
this
Yeah,
out.
honestly.
Yeah, like, I've never seen a professor do
I normally have to skip through like 30 minutes of nothing.
Yeah, so.
All right. So let's do the same for the others. So we'll say public string name. Yeah, I love that, how it just auto completes for me. And then get return underscore name set underscore name equals value. And then, you know what, I'm going to use copy paste. So instead of name, we'll be using rank with a capital R. Then we got Starship and Home Planet to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually really strong.
And then finally Home Planet. Oh, already double. There. All right, so we have our model in place. All right, we just need to finish the constructor and we're good. So name equals n, rank equals r.
So for C#, we don't need to do like this ID like equals like I or this name.
Oh, this dot, right?
This dot.
No, it should know that it's this current class.
Well, I mean, you're using the setter. You're not using the.
Yeah. I'm not accessing. I could go direct. I mean, I could go underscore home planet equals age.
There's no difference. Is there difference?
Not right now. Not for this implementation. They both should be exactly the same. Like there's reasons to do it differently. Like the reason we have getters and setters is, well, of course, to protect the internal variable names, but also like if you're using so one example from the past is when I used on iOS, I used the accelerometer, right? I was trying to make an app where a ball would just move around the screen, right, just by tilting that. So in the setters for my XY location, instead of just saying ID equals value, for example, it was saying ID equals, in a nutshell, like get the accelerometer X location, right? So it's actually directing the access in the hardware. So there are some examples, I'm thinking more hardware related, where if you want to access something for that variable, then the setter is the perfect place to do it. Yeah. All right, so we got our model in place. Now we can actually do some stuff. And doing it inside crew view. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stack panel with a ComboBox. And let's just get, well, actually before then, so inside crewview.xaml, we have here our command bar. After command bar, I'm going to put a stack panel. And I've already played around with these numbers, so I'm just going to create a margin based on these numbers, just for easy, just save us some time. But stack panel, we'll say margin equals, and 20, 120, 50 by 50. All right, you can see in the preview, it's created a stack panel with this blue square here. All right. And then within it, I'm going to throw a combo box in. I'm going to throw a few other things in afterwards, but I just want to start with the combo box. The idea is I want to take that crew, create some hard-coded information, and then get it to display in the combo box. And now let's add the combo box. So within the stack panel, I'm going to add a combo box, and I'm going to hard code the width. So I'm going to say width is 286 pixels. Yeah, and I just played with these numbers already. You can give it a name like x name equals CMB CRUD. And I think for now that's good enough. There's a couple other things we're going to add to this, but for now this is enough to get us started. Because what we'll do is we'll do the rest in C#, and then we're going to come and add another setting and get this up and running. So for now, this is enough for XAML, and save that. And we're going to switch over to crewview.xaml.cs actually. Or to save us some time, let's actually add the event handler called selection changed. Yeah. So yeah, okay, so let's do that. Let's add the event handler, because what we want to do is we want to have some event happen every time we choose a new item in this combo box dropdown. So selection changed is the event handler that fires every time you change a value in a combo box. It's not mandatory to do it every time, like especially with hard-coded information, like we're going to do in our flight suite. We're going to have some hard-coded airplanes. And so we won't need the selection changed event handler there, because that's just me like pull the data from it when we want to hit add, for example. But for this example, we're going to need that selection change. So I'm going to hit the lightning bolt. I've already got CMB crew highlighted as it says here, and I'm just going to look for selection changed. All right, so selection changed. Going to double click on my box there, and there's going to generate it for me, and hopefully not crash. I have a bad feeling it's going to. When it does that, come on, Microsoft.
I wonder what's wrong with your.
I think it's a combination of my laptop. It doesn't like my screen cap software.
Oh.
It does it more when I'm screen
It
capturing.
could be a memory issue.
Most likely is. It's Camtasia.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Camtasia is solid, but it's an older version.
If you want to try, you can also try OBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, OBS is
I
pretty good.
use that all the time.
Interesting.
It's really good.
Okay.
And it's free.
Oh,
Yeah, open
OBS.
source.
I'll look it up after.
And you can do it with like different, like it doesn't have to capture the whole screen.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out our dummy data first in the CS file. Just hard code this information. So we're going to create a list as a field here. We'll just say a private list of crew. Call it people equals new. There we go. Autocomplete. And then the constructor will hard code our information.
You're going to use LINQ here, Dan?
Yes. So we're going to use LINQ for the entire thing here. So it's going to say people. First off, we're just going to insert. We're not going to use LINQ to insert. We'll just do the conventional list add. So people.add. It's going to hard code the ID numbers to 0. Name is Jean-Luc Picard. Let's see, he'll be a captain. He's on the Enterprise. And his home planet is Earth. All right. Let's see here. Why is it underscore?
Uh,
I bet you it's not in.
you're supposed to do a new crew.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have, you have to put the
Right.
object.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes I get a little too ahead of myself.
I think that when you do programming, sometimes you do like pair programming.
Yeah. So it saves you on that headache of like, why is this not working? All right, gonna add like 4 more people.
It's gotta make it look so much easier.
Yeah. So, but keep increasing the ID numbers. You need to have a unique ID number for each. And of course, you don't want to use Star Trek characters. You can use whoever you want. So we'll have Worf, Lieutenant. It'll be on Deep Space Nine. And he's from Kronos. All right, next crew member ID will be 2. And we'll just say Nog. Nog is an ensign. He's on the Defiant. He's from Ferenginar. Oops. All right, next one. Say Spock. And he'll be a commander. On the Enterprise, and he's from Vulcan. And that's good enough. Actually, 4 is good enough. Right. So we have our hard-coded information. And the trick now is we want this information to display in our combo box, or at least just the names. We just want the names to display there. So we need to bind this information to that combo box. All right. So what we're going to do is there's actually just 2 small steps to doing that. First, I'm going to jump back. I could just continue on with the C# code and then jump back to XAML, but just to illustrate what's going on, I'm going to start with XAML. We'll come back to this method in a moment. So in terms of ComboBox, our definition, we define here what the data is going to be for this thing. So there's 2 possibilities. One, you can just hard code the data manually, and you can do that purely in XAML, or you can bind it from some dynamic source like this dynamic list or a database, right? And that's the idea behind it. So we're gonna use this dynamic array or dynamic list to do that. And all we have to do is set one variable here inside our combo box. It's item source equals. And inside a set of curly brackets, we're going to say binding with a capital B. Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. But we're going to be doing this a number of times over the next few weeks. So you're going to learn this very, very well. Oh, item source. There's actually 2 S's. You have to be very careful. Items source. So 2 S's there. So it's easy one to make a mistake on. All right. So on this side of things, that's good. We're done. Now we're just going to jump back to our C# code, and we're going to finish off with a LINQ query, and I'm going to send that LINQ query information to the combo box. So now I'm going to say var names equals from PEO in people select PEO.name. All right. So now I have my list of just names from the list of people. And then after that, you want to fish this information to the ComboBox. So you're going to say CMB CRUD dot data context equals names. And you can give it a run. So there we go. We should see our list of names here. So jumping back to the XAML file, we're going to add a bunch of text boxes to represent editing each of those fields. So we'll continue on after the stack view. Find the right screen, there, right file. So we have with the stack panel with the ComboBox. It's going to continue on with a bunch of options. So we'll add a text block, and its text will just be name. And from there, we'll just put a text box. So text block is really a label in the WPF world, and text box is your actual input box. X name will be TB name, and closing text box. And so you can see here in the preview, we have name and we have a text box for name. And I'm not going to type the whole thing over and over, so I'm just going to copy and paste with different attributes. The second one will be rank, and it'll be TB rank for the name. Another paste. And this will be Starship. And TB Starship. And finally, Home Planet. TB Home Planet. Right. So we have all of our text boxes in there. So our XAML is basically done. The rest of the work now will be in code. We'll have to come back and add event handlers to add, edit, and delete later. But for now, let's just get this ComboBox to work so that every time we select a new item, it populates the text boxes with the existing information. So just save. So it's already saved. I'm going to switch over to the CS file. All right. So now, inside the CS file, we had already added that event handler for selection changed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to populate it by running another LINQ query and then populating all of the text boxes that we had there. So first off, selection changed for the ComboBox is like I said, the event handler for firing some event when you change the value. But to know what item was chosen in that ComboBox, that value is known as selected index. There's actually a few of them that you can take advantage of. There's selected index for the index from 0 to n-1. There's selected value when you just want the text of what was chosen. Selected value is what you would use. So between those two variables, you can do a lot. And so for the next few apps we're going to be building, we'll be taking advantage of both, right, in different places. So we're starting with selected index. So we want the index to line up with the array. So we're going to say int I equals CMB CRUD dot selected index. All right. Now we can do our LINQ query. So we're going to say var selected CRUD equals from PEO in people where PEO.id equals I select PEO.
Is it equal, equal, or equal?
You're right, it's a double equal. So from PEO and people, right? Whichever one matches the ID, we'll select that person. Now, what's interesting is now for each item inside, we have to do a for each loop to get this to work properly. For some weird reason, it just wouldn't work without it. We'll say for each, and it's just really one item in the array because all our items are unique. We'll say var s in selected CRUD. I think it's just the structure of the way var works. Say tb name dot text is equal to s dot name. All right, and then tb rank dot text is equal to s dot rank. tb starship dot text is equal to s dot starship, and tb home dot text is equal to s dot home planet. All right, and that's it. You have enough to run. You should see every time you change an item in the combo box, it populates the text fields below, or text boxes below. So this is very convenient because this is one of those features that I would almost say is mandatory if you're doing a scenario like this, because your user expects to see every time you choose something, especially if you want to edit something, that it populates and you can just simply edit, right? This goes to user friendliness. So if you ever have a scenario like this, you want to make it easier on the user and pre-populate existing data for whatever you're doing, so that the user just has to edit those things. And a lot of times it's not done for you, and you have to manually do it by hand, like we're doing right now. So this is really important that you do this. So now let's enable these edit, update, and delete buttons. So to do that, we're going to jump back to the XAML file one last time and create those event handlers. And they are basically the same way you would expect a typical buttons event handler to be created. So jumping back here, I'm just going to click on btn crew add, go to my lightning bolt, look for click, it's right there, just double click, and let it auto-generate the btn crew add click event handler. And for flight, we're going to create the model for flight. So open up flight.cs. We're going to add some fields in first to support this. So we'll start off with private int underscore ID, and then private string departure underscore departure, and then private string underscore destination, private string underscore airplane, and finally private, we're going to use a date time for date underscore date. Now let's do the public references to them. So we'll start off with a public int ID. We'll just tap to accept. And yeah, it's starting to get smarter and smarter. There we go. So it's saving me some time. Right? The public, yeah, actually, you know what? So the autocomplete isn't so bad. There we go. I'm going to tap to accept that. And yeah, there it is. So get and set for departure. See if it's going to autocomplete for me again. There we go, destination. There's the get, there's the set. I can get used to this user friendliness from for 2022. As long as it works. Airplane. Get airplane. Airplane goes well. I wonder why. Oh, there we go. I wonder why I want to do the different format. But finally, public date time. There we go. Get date. All right. I guess it doesn't. They wanted to try and be a bit different there. So I'll just let it be. But we have all of our getters and setters for all of our fields. We just have to add a constructor to insert all of them at once for us. Just show up there. So I'm going to put a public flight, and then we'll say, wow. Okay, I'm impressed. But I think it just doubled up on the field, so I'm not going to go with what it says. Let's say int I, string def, string des, string a, and date time dat. See what it wants to do here. Okay, so it wants to go with the private fields. You know what? Why not? See visual or not? Let's see ID. Here we go. Try and get it to up. There we go. Now it's figuring it out. And date time or dat. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. There we go. Let's double check my dates. See what they call it. Yep, they called it date with a capital D. Kind of treading on risky water there with using date because I believe date's already an object somewhere unless they completely forced it to date time. So I guess we'll see if this causes any problems. All right, but our flight model is complete. So I'm just going to hit save for that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move over to our flight view and actually get this up and running. So we'll switch over to flightView.xaml. The which one? Next week or so. I still have to make it. There's flightView.cs, .xaml, or sorry, flightView.xaml. And it's really tight. We already got the command bar. We did that last time. So increase the size there. Too big. So we have the command bar up and running. Now it's just a matter of adding the remaining items there. So we're going to use another stack panel. And like I did last time, I actually already did the dimensions in practice, so it's already ready to go. So we'll start with the stack panel. Margin equals 20 over 120, sorry, 20 down, 120 over, and then the 50 by 50 for size. All right, now we'll start off with a combo box. And I'll say width is 286. Item source. So we know it's going to be attached to some dynamic data. So we talked last time around that we need to use item source. As items source equals, and then in curly brackets, binding. All right, we'll give it a name. X colon name is CMB flight. And just the slash to close it off. And it needs an event handler, selection changed. So we'll do that in our properties window. So making sure ComboBox is highlighted. Go to our lightning bolt. Look for selection changed. There it is, right there, selection changed. You can double click on that to let it auto-generate. But before I do, I just want to hit Control S to save my existing, I don't trust my computer. So Control S and make sure that selection change, double click on that. That is very weird. Oh, you know why? Because I have a space here. I have a space. Doesn't like that. So Control S to save again. Double click on selection changed, and there we go. So selection changed is auto-generated. Right, so we got our event handler. Let's add the other objects first and complete this, and then we'll come back and actually fill out our C# code. All right. Okay, so we have our combo box. So below the combo box, we're going to add two text boxes for our departure city and destination city. So first we'll say text block for a label. Text equals departure city. And then we'll say text box. And X name will be TB departure. Close that off. You can see it's generating it below. Then we'll do another text block. Text equals destination city. And text box, X name equals TB destination. Now for the aircraft, we're going to predefine aircraft in a way that the user will have certain choices for aircraft and not just write whatever airplane they want. So we're going to use a combo box to define it. So we'll add another combo box. And we'll say, again, width is equal to 286 for consistency. We'll say X name is equal to CMB aircraft.
and slash. Don't need anything else there. We don't need an event handler for that because we're not going to fire anything every time someone chooses an airplane. We just want to use it to send or to save whatever is there when somebody wants to do an add, update, and delete. And then finally, we're going to use a date picker for our departure date. So we'll put in, actually we should put in a, just above the combo box, we should put in a text block as well. And say text equals aircraft. Below it, we'll do another text block. We'll say text equals departure date. And then finally now we're going to do a date picker. I hate when it does this. I have my page up and page down right next to my up and down arrow key. And it just, yeah, it constantly gets accidentally touched. Let's try again. Date picker. There's date picker. X name is equal to dp date. There. And now if you look at the preview, you have your text boxes for the two departures, or departure in the two cities, the aircraft, and your departure date. So here's your date picker right there.
For some reason, I don't see any of those things on my screen.
You don't see it in your preview? You can do a test to verify that it works. Just hit run. Need to increase the size of my screen. There. There we go. So empty, empty. If you click on this, your date. Yeah. You know, to be honest, this is my personal rant. I hate this look and feel. I feel like it's too simple.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I'm more old school. I like the glitter. I like the gloss. I like, the fanciness of Windows Forms, for example, like how it looked more, I don't know. I mean, when I saw this style, I was like, it's like somebody just took a pencil, drew, and then they're like, forget it. This is good enough. And people caught on and accepted it. So I don't know. It looks but this is the standard for Microsoft. Like, really? Like, that $1 billion company couldn't have put a little more effort into the look and feel. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just black. Yeah. Okay, so jumping back to the code, so we know it's visible. We'll switch over to the CS file. And first, let's hard code some information. So first, we'll define a couple of private list variables. So we'll say private list first for flight. So just using that flight class that we just populated, call it flights with an S. And this is where you got to be very careful because I'm using flight, flight view, and flights. Maybe I should have thought this through a little bit more. Yeah, especially, yeah. The second list is for aircraft, but it's just strings. So private list string aircraft equals new list string. And this is just one way of doing a hard-coded combo box list. There's a couple of other ways. I'm just doing it here as a dynamic way to attached to code. So I'm doing it purely in code. But there's a couple of other ways to do this. All right, so inside the constructor, I'm going to populate my data. All right, so we'll start with flights. We'll say flights.add for new flight. And so index 0, say Toronto to San Francisco. Of course, if you want to get, I mean, you can choose other cities and stuff. You know, maybe you want to go somewhere else. Feel free to populate that instead. I'm going to hard code it to a Boeing 777. And it's departing on 2022, July 25th. So we'll say new date time for 2022 and then 0725. So you're going to see that'll feed nicely into the date picker. All right, we'll say flights.add for new flight. This will be index 1 going from Montreal to Tokyo on a Boeing 787. And it's departing on new date time for 2022. We'll say June 22nd. Say it already departed. We'll do another flights.add for new flight. And we'll say index 2 going from Vancouver to London on a Airbus 330, departing new date time for we'll say 2022 August 5th. And finally, one more. We'll say flights.add for new flight. We'll say index 3, going from Calgary to Miami on an Airbus 220, departing new date time for 2022 August 15th. All right. I'll let you guys catch up.
So is date time the data type, or?
It is. Date times the data is the date time object that it doesn't feed into the, actually it does, it feeds directly into date time, but retrieving, we have to use something called a date time offset and then feed that into a date time. So going in, you can use strings and convert them to a date time, but it has to be date time. Yeah.
Does it work well with databases?
Yeah. Yeah, so SQL Server will feed nicely into this because, so we're only doing dates on this example, but of course, date time, as the name implies, has time as well. And it'll even have time zone or UTC versus a local time, a bunch of stuff. So date time is a very powerful object.
It makes things easier.
It does.
Like, I know keeping up with time zones used to be a big problem for developers and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we got 4 example flights. Now, let's populate the aircraft. So we'll say aircraft dot add, and since it's just simple strings, we'll just say Boeing 777. Aircraft dot add for Boeing 787. And aircraft dot add, and it's important that these names line up with what we have, so that it properly selects them. So Airbus 330, aircraft dot add for Airbus 220. I'm gonna add a couple more for when we're playing with our data. Then we have a couple more airplanes to work with. So aircraft dot add for Airbus 340. Finally, aircraft dot add for Airbus 380. There. So now we have all of the data we're going to be playing with that we'll start off with. Now, like last time around with the CRUD, we have to do the exact same thing. We have to feed this into the two combo boxes this time. So two combo boxes have data ready to go. So, well, aircraft is actually easy. Because it's hard-coded strings, we're just going to say CMB aircraft dot item source. So it's slightly different than what we're doing because it's just simple strings. It feeds very nicely like this. So we're using item source for this one. But we're going to use data context for the flight data. So we have to do a LINQ query. So we'll say var dep equals from D in flight select D dot departure. And then we feed dep into our data context. So CMB flight dot data context equals dep. Now we have enough to run, test out, and see if the data actually is there. Right. Okay, so start with aircraft. See, all of my aircrafts are there. And I see here 4 cities. But nothing's populated yet because we haven't done the selected index or selected section change. So let's do that right now. So now, we move over to CMB flight selection change. And just like last one with the CRUD, we're going to retrieve the item that was selected. So ComboBox's selected index will tell us between 0 and n-1 which item was selected. So we'll say int I equals CMB flight dot selected index. And then we'll do a LINQ query to retrieve that particular index. So we'll say var selected flight equals from f in flights where f.id equals I select f. So we're looping through our flights array or list, find the ID that matches I, and select that particular object from the list. Now we can go ahead and populate, but we have to use a for each loop because even in the select statement, the LINQ query will assume that more than one result can come, even though our IDs are unique and we know it, but we have to use a for each to loop through a 2D array essentially, internally. So let's say for each var s in selected flight, now we've gotten, because we know it's just one item, we're just going to populate our text boxes, our combo box, and our date picker. So let's say tb departure dot text is equal to s dot departure, and then tb destination dot text is equal to s dot destination. Now the nice thing about the combo box is that because we've lined up our items in that combo box, whatever pops up here will match up nicely. So all I have to do is just say CMB aircraft dot selected item is equal to s dot airplane. And if it's not there, it won't select anything. And then finally, dp date dot selected date. So the date that we want to move it to equals s dot date. So now it's going to adjust the date picker to match the date time object. And now you have enough to run. And you should see the different items populate all of the objects there. Now choose Vancouver. So Vancouver to London, Airbus 330, August 5th, 2022. I choose Calgary. Calgary to Miami, Airbus 220, August 15, 2022. Toronto, July 25th, 2022. Montreal, June 22nd, 2022. So Montreal, Tokyo, Poland, 77. Right. So it actually will choose the correct items as needed.
I was able to like change the quotes and you have to for each loop. You have used to convert it to
Okay, so now that we have the selected index change working, let's do add, update, and delete and complete this application. So we need to switch back to flightView.xaml. And same thing we did for crew. We're just going to add the event handlers for add, edit, and delete. So we just double click on flight add and go to our event handler, look for click. There it is, double click it. Let it generate my flight add click. It's going to save. Switch back to flightsview.xaml. Now for edit, we'll click on click. There's edit, save. Finally delete. There's click, double click on click. And now I have all my event handlers. I'm just going to hit save all. There. So I have add, edit, and delete, and I'm ready to start. Okay, so starting with add, we'll do the same thing we did last time, but there's only two text boxes. We want to make sure they're not empty. So we'll just say if tb departure dot text equals empty, or tb destination dot text equals empty. Then we'll do a message dialog because message box doesn't work here. Only message dialog. So we'll say var dialog equals new message dialog, or no text box can be empty. It's going to complain because we need to import or a using there. Well, let's just finish the line. Ah, there. Oh, no text box. And then await dialog dot show async. All right, now I'm going to clean up the errors. Using Windows UI pop-ups. That's done. And it auto-filled the async I needed after private. Else. Now we can go ahead and add this to our flights list. So now I'm going to say flights.add for new flight. And so first off, we're going to get the length of the flights list to make that our newest ID. So we'll say flights.count. Then we'll say tb departure dot text for departure city, tb destination dot text for our destination city, and then we want to get the aircraft that was chosen. So it'll be selected value because selected index holds the index from 0 to n-1, but selected value shows the actual value that's on display in the ComboBox. So we'll say CMB aircraft dot selected value dot toString. And then finally, for the date picker, so we'll say dp date dot selected date dot value dot UTC date time. Quite a bit of variable digging there, because what happens is that selected date is the value, is the object of that actually has the date that was chosen, and then it's within value. But you're probably wondering about the UTC date time, because selected date is not a date time object, it's a date time offset object. It's the difference from I think it's 1970, January 1st, 1970. Actually, I think it's earlier. I remember reading it was like 1600, January 1st, 1600 or something like that, to today. So it's actually the difference between those, it's not the actual date. So the UTC date time actually converts it over to the proper date time. So that's why we have to do this extra little coding here. All right, so at this point we've added it to our flights. Now we just need to refresh our ComboBox for flights. So we'll just say var fli equals from f in flights select f dot departure and then CMB flight dot data context is equal to FLI. And then we'll put up a message box saying that we've completed the transaction by saying var dialog equals new message dialog. And we'll append the departure city. You can do the destination city, whichever one you want. So tb departure dot text plus, and then has been added. And then await dialog dot show async. right, now we have enough to run and verify that add works. Right, so I'm just gonna pick a city first of all, and maybe change it to Victoria, to I'll say Austin. We'll choose an Airbus 380. Say that it's leaving October 8th, 2022, and hit the plus sign. So Victoria has been added. And I see Victoria in the list, so I'm going to choose something different like Montreal. So it changes all the values. Then switch back to Victoria, and I know that it's all there. All right, so now we have add up and running. Now the next one to do is edit. All right, so edit is the next one. Now, we want to verify that the text boxes aren't empty. So we'll just do the same thing again. If tbDeparture.text equals empty, or tbDestination.text is empty, and we'll just do the same var incomplete equals new message dialog for no text box can be empty. And then await incomplete show async. So we got that taken care of, and then else. Go ahead and do our edit. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to say flight by instantiating update flight equals new flight for, and then CMB flight dot selected index tb departure dot text tb destination dot text CMB aircraft dot selected value dot toString, and finally dp date dot selected date dot value dot UTC date time. And now we just replace it in the flights array or list by saying flights of CMB flight dot selected index equals update flight. And then we'll have to just refresh our ComboBox by saying var fli equals from f in flights select f dot departure, and then CMB flight dot data context equal to FLI. And then send a message saying it was completed. So var complete equals new message dialog for tb departure dot text plus has been updated. And then await complete dot show async. All right, now we have enough to do an edit and verify that the update works. Flights. So I'm going to choose Vancouver and just throw some junk data at the end of it. Change the airplane. Change the date. And hit edit. So that's been updated. And we'll verify that it actually did save, going to Toronto and then back to Vancouver. And everything has been updated. All right, so now that add works, edit works, all that's left is for delete. So removing is easy, it's just removing one line. We'll say flights dot remove at CMD flight dot selected index. Now we have to reorder all of the IDs for everything just so we don't break this. So we'll say for int I equals 0, I is less than flights.count, I plus plus, flights of I dot ID equals I. Because if we delete something in the middle, it might jump from 2 to 4, but then it won't line up with our selected indexes anymore, or indices. So things will break.
Should you check if there is a selected index?
Oh, if it exists? So yeah, I mean that's why we're doing it this way, because like let's say you delete 3, right? The third one. But there's 6 items. So then the selected indices will still go from 0 to n minus 1, but then your IDs will go like 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 5, 6, 7, right? And so those won't line up anymore. Especially with when we do our LINQ query, where we're doing like where ID equals our selected index, that's where things break. All right, so let's refresh our ComboBox by saying var d equals from depth in flights, select depth.departure, and then feed that into CMD flight dot data context, and then our final message dialog var complete equals new message dialog for TB departure dot text, and then plus has been deleted, and then await complete dot show async. And we're done. Now I can give it a run, verify everything works. Vancouver. I'm gonna delete Vancouver. Vancouver has been deleted. Now it's just Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Toronto, Calgary, yeah, Montreal. So yeah. So that's the app. So now we've covered how to do link queries with hard-coded list data fed into combo boxes using a top nav version of navigation view. We also play with the DatePicker and our command bar.